And that's why I think that you would be really, really good at BDSM.
What conversation did I just blank out on?
Okay, welcome back, guys. We had been talking about, like, iconic voice stuff. I just wanted to be dumb for 5 seconds. Yeah, to finish off what we were talking about before, in case you're wanting to follow along, we essentially were just talking about, like, you know, how having super iconic voice roles where they don't really change things up too much means that they're kind of limited and stuff.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, I feel like, and, like, you know, you made a really good point about the fact that Transformers is primarily a toy thing, so they kind of have to go with, like, what's gonna sell the best, and Optimus Prime is definitely one of the top, you know, if not the top kind of seller for toys, so it's kind of hard to get away from that. On the other side, though, because they are limiting themselves like that, it means that they, you know, they kind of have to stick with the Peter Cullens and the, you know, because you can't have one person who's, like, seen as the voice of the role, you know,
just kind of abandon them for another one.
Yeah, like, you can't do that.
Like, and I was showing you in between parts that I was fiddling with the fucking while I was freezing. Just had to reboot it.
Yeah.
Everyone that's done an Optimus Prime role has tried to sort of emulate
Peter Cullen
in some way, which has led to Optimus being very, like, there's
Optimus Prime and Peter Cullen are, like, inexorably linked.
Yeah.
Like, and as much as I love Peter Cullen because I think he has a really awesome voice and I'm, like, such a sucker for good voice acting, I also think at the same time that by not, you know, by only having him means that they've kind of fucked themselves over.
Yeah, because now they really can't make the role that diverse.
No, and by focusing so heavily on Optimus Prime, they can't really do anything else.
They did, I think I saw they did make, try to make Bumblebee more of a central character in the series.
Yeah.
With, I can't remember what the show was called. I think it was called Robots in Disguise. Where Bumblebee had a crew that was, and they were the main characters, and Optimus was more of a guest star. But that Optimus, while it wasn't Peter Cullen, was still kind of trying to emulate Cullen's performance.
Yeah. But it's like they've fucked themselves over now. Like, that's part of the problem with the world that we live in, is that we're so fucking afraid to do new stuff once we know that one thing works. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and for some, like, franchises, I get it, like, and, you know, obviously, like, you know, I'm very much, like, a hardcore Tolkien purist and stuff. Like, you can't really fuck around with the mythology of Tolkien too much, you can't really introduce new people because the people that have been already introduced are so, you know, central to everything that happens in the Tolkien verse. But, like, I feel like with something like this, you know, they could have gotten away with it more.
Well, I'll make a small argument that they can't, I would argue they, like, can't do much experimentation with the Tolkien verse in terms of its lore, because otherwise it just kind of sounds like a bad fan fiction some of the times.
Yeah.
But because there's only been one good portrayal of the characters, that there is room for them to, say, try something a little different with who portrays the characters.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not talking about portrayal, though. I mean,
no,
like...
but it's the iconography as well as the portrayal is why Optimus in particular is a sore spot. But I mean, I'd say like with like let's say for example the Netflix not Transformers, the Netflix approach for Lord of the Rings that they're trying.
Amazon.
Oh, it's Amazon. Sorry, Amazon. Yeah. Amazon's attempt at doing their own Lord of the Rings thing. Yeah, it's probably going to suck most when it tries to do its own thing for the lore, but but I'm more just saying, at least they have a little bit of wiggle room with the portrayal of, say, Legolas and Gimli. Yeah, they should be following with the book's portrayal of them, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Orlando Bloom and the actor who played Gimli. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name.
Jonathan Rhys-Davies.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, especially with the Amazon series for Netflix, it's not about any of those characters, it's about Aragorn.
Okay, that
And, like, the whole point of Aragorn as a character is that he's, like, mysterious. You don't fucking know that much about him, because you're not supposed to. Like, you know his, like, the history of him and his people and stuff, but, like, the whole point of Lord of the Rings is this mysterious, guy finally accepting his destiny to become Elisar, right? To become the King of Gondor. And, like, you can't really, like, give him a backstory, or, like, you can give him a backstory, but, like, you can't, like, show too much,
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like, especially in a universe like this, with Transformers, you would get away with introducing a new character more.
They do introduce new characters.
I know, but introducing a new character and making them a more central character than having everything be, I'm just gonna make up a name here, or I'm not gonna make up a name, but it's gonna be a name and I'm gonna pretend that it's a Transformers person. Okay, so here is Toyota Prime, and, he is the main character of the new Transformers electric car series. And obviously I'm just making it up, I'm not trying to make fun of anything, whatever, I'm just like, because I don't know fuck all about Transformers, right? So, it's like, he is the main character of the thing. I feel like they could get away with that a lot more. And, like, they don't need to have Optimus Prime and everything.
Well, they might have been able to get away with that at one point, but...
Yeah, they might have been able to before, but now that they've made him, like, the whole fucking focal point of the entire goddamn series, they can't do shit.
Yeah, because there's been so much, like, comic portrayals and various TV shows,
It's like, it's all about Optimus Prime, which is great, because Optimus Prime is really cool. And if I had my way, I would name our firstborn Optimus Prime. But, now that they haven't done anything, like, fuck, they can't do anything else except Optimus Prime. And then, like, there's only so much you can do before it gets tired.
Yeah, with the Robots in the Sky series, from what I can tell, they look like they were trying to do something a little bit different, with Bumblebee as the main character, and from what I saw, most of the Autobots in that series were not, like, classic mainstays.
Yeah.
But I think there was even a newer character I don't remember, because I've heard this new character named Windblade is quite popular, but I don't know if she was a big part of that series or not. But besides that, it looked like they were trying to introduce more, like, newer characters. But the problem with it was they had Optimus Prime make cameo appearance regularly. Another thing is, oh, excuse me, I keep trying, like, my body's like, oh, you want to burp, but then I don't end up burping, and it's just very awkward.
Yeah, I keep feeling that.
What was I gonna say?
By keeping Optimus Prime in the picture, they essentially guaranteed that people aren't going to focus on the new characters. They're going to focus on Optimus Prime.
Well, even with that, like, they didn't even do a good job of that because they introduced, because of the whole like continuity thing that they've been doing with newer series, trying to keep everything under like one roof, so to speak.
Yeah.
They kind of ruined that in itself because like the sequel to this game introduces what is another long-running favorite of the series. His name is Grimlock.
Okay.
Who is the leader of a team called the Dinobots. They introduce Grimlock in the sequel to this game, but then, again, with that Robots in Disguise show that is supposed to be like a continuation of this universe, they introduce a different Grimlock, but still call him Grimlock, still give him Grimlock's famous T-Rex alternate mode.
Uh-huh.
But it's not the same character by any definition. Like, even if you want to consider the fact that Bumblebee is more kid-friendly in that series, but they still kind of made him like the destined for greatness younger brother kind of character, which kind of works. Grimlock he's a brute, and if they want to experiment with the character in a different setting, fine. But if you're trying to keep everything unified,
don't do that.
Don't have one that is your typical Grimlock brute, and then for the kids' TV series, bring in this clumsy oaf. I think that's also just a part of an issue with that whole trying to keep the continuity as one thing.
Yeah.
This game is not made for kids. Like it's obviously not like a overly mature game like The Last of Us.
No.
But like even just you can like the color palette's kind of drab, which is what a lot of places do, and it's like, oh, this is a mature game. But seriously, you're fighting the Decepticon and Autobot war right now.
Yeah.
And it's not presented in bright colors and a goofy attitude. Like, Megatron is all about just breaking things.
To be fair, just like thinking about that, like, you know, you have more mature games that are typically in like a more drab kind of color tone. That's one thing that I really fucking loved about Cuphead. Was that you had this like brightly colored game that was so like jaunty looking and like a very classic animation style, and that game is dark.
Yeah, they literally sell their soul to the devil.
Yeah, like, that's pretty fucking dark. But no, you absolutely have a point.
So yeah, it's kind of just a stupid marketing decision when you have this game trying to be a bit more grounded with the source material. Well, as grounded as transforming aliens can get. And then you have a kid's show. Like, how do you keep the things introduced in one? Like, yeah, you can argue, like, oh, Optimus is a stoic, like, leader character. Which, by the way, is actually been kind of dummied Hollywood style since his original introduction.
Okay.
But I'll come back to that in a second. But yeah, like, so you can keep things like those elements of Optimus for the kids show and this. I'll just call this a teen game because it's not an adult game.
Yeah.
But you can't keep things, and yeah, you can probably keep things like Megatron's maniacal evilness because, let's be fair, we've had maniacal evil characters for a long time.
Yeah.
But then you've got, like, I'm having a hard time to focus right now.
That's okay. Focus on the game.
It's just when your marketing is focused on one demographic, it's not always easy to translate that to a different demographic.
No.
So again, using Grimlock as an example, where in the sequel, he will break whatever the fuck he feels like. Autobot, Decepticon, like, obviously more so Decepticon, but he's known to be insubordinate. because he wants to get at the Decepticons because he's a fighter. He's not one for tactics, etc. But he's not some clumsy moron. He is outright stated to be the leader of his squad. Part of his thing in the sequel is that he gets violent because he's angry. You can't really have that in a kid's thing. When one of your main characters, who's supposed to be like the quote-unquote good guy, literally just gets angry and breaks things. Because, well, from a marketing perspective, that's bad as kids marketing. You'll get parents on your ass very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not saying this game is mature, like only adults, and like a kid could probably play this and have a blast with it.
Yeah.
But I feel like the tone of how it's trying to carry everything doesn't translate to a kid's product.
No.
And then when you try and take the same character... Oh, I thought it just locked up on me again. Yeah, no Starscream. We just beat the snot out of him.
Neat. Look at us go.
Also, I was thinking we might be able to get the series done in 20 episodes. I'm already wrong.
Oh, yeah?
It took us 3 episodes to do Chapter 1 of the Autobots. I think we were already, like, halfway through Starscream's chapter before, by episode 3.
Yeah. Oh, man, I was really looking forward to picking something to play next, but... Well, if I was allowed. But, you know.
What was going to be your suggestion?
I don't know. We can figure something out.
It couldn't be. The message carried his unique data signature.
Something different and exciting.
We both saw the wreckage of what Megatron did to him. No one could survive that. Even if there's the smallest possibility that Zeta is alive, we must act. Optimus, it's a trap. Surely.
Oh, yeah, I was going to talk about the point about Optimus being different now than he was before, even with Peter Cullen's performance. It was because for the original series, he had his brother kind of inspire him.
Yeah. What?
Peter Cullen's brother was, I think, a Marine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I think he told Peter something along the lines of, "Don't be this Hollywood stoic hero." He said, "If you're going to be strong enough to be compassionate," or something like that. Something along those lines. And that's kind of what made Optimus who he was in the original series. Like, yeah, he was your stoic commander, but he could still be a goof. There was very much a compassionate side of when he addressed like the humans.
Yeah.
But then you get to the Michael Bay series and everything that's after that, and he's just he's just kind of more leaning to your stereotypical action hero.
Yeah.
But yeah, now from this point on, we're gonna be playing the Autobots.
Neat.
I'm not gonna start the chapter, but who do you think we should play as next time? Optimus, Sideswipe, or Bumblebee?
You know what? I want to say Optimus Prime, but it's just because I like the idea of like uniformity.
We can do it. I think Optimus actually makes the chapter go by a bit faster when you play as him.
Okay.
Okay, what's really the other options? Optimus, Ironhide Warpath. Okay. This is the Jet chapter, and this one's, I think... That's Optimus, Bumblebee, and Iron. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna quit game. We'll see everybody in the next episode.
Interesting.